of y'all have watched Pearl Harbor? If you have, how many of you have watched Pearl Harbor? If you've seen Pearl Harbor, you're a saint because it's a 3-hour movie and it is just way too long. It's a good movie, but personally it's too long for me. Good evening. My name is Cierra, and I hope by the end of the speech you will have learned something else you may not have known about Pearl Harbor. So, on the morning of December 7th, 1941, Japan attacked the U.S. by surprise. If you're like me, you've learned about Pearl Harbor, you've heard about it, but you never knew why it happened. According to Khan Academy, the motive for the attack was that the U.S. was exporting oil to Japan, which Japan relies on the U.S. for 80% of its oil. They had cut those exports off. And so Japan thought by attacking the U.S. fleets that they had gained control over the Pacific Ocean. So the U.S. naval base is about 4,000 miles from Japan in Hawaii. So no one really thought that Japan would attack these distant islands. But they ended up doing, even though it was a surprise, the U.S. and Japan had been edging towards war for decades. So at 8 a.m., the attack started at 8 a.m. and lasted over 2 hours. The casualties of the U.S. Army and Navy and military far surpassed what the Japanese had, with a total of 2,403 deaths, over 30 ships, over 300 planes, which I have my paper airplanes here to represent some of the planes that have been destroyed in the attack, and 8 battleships, one of them being the USS Oklahoma. And this is going to be hard to see because not the best setup, but the USS Oklahoma had 429 deaths. The Japanese had used diver bombs, fighter bombs, and torpedoes. Within 10 minutes of the first bombing, the first attack, the USS Oklahoma had been hit 8 times, and it immediately started sinking. After the attack, the Navy decided that the USS Oklahoma was no longer salvageable, and they decided to rob the ship of everything they could, any extra metal that they could find, anything like that, and then later sold the hull to a private company. The private company ended up attempting to haul it back to California, where it sunk about 500 miles east of Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean. Each one of the ships that had been destroyed that were salvageable had been back up running in service in about a year. The Japanese failed in destroying the fleets because the fleets had been offshore and away from the base. But mainland stuff had been destroyed, like your oil depots, your shipyards, docks, repair services. But each one of those, with us being the U.S., was back up and running in no time. And I have a video here, which is going to be hard to see because, again, not the best setup, of the first plane attacking the U.S. Again, it's going to be hard to see, but and then it just ends up showing the planes flying around. So, the USS Oklahoma, along with many other ships, had been sunk, hit, or destroyed completely. This was after the attack. Again, it's going to be hard to see, but this is some bombs going off, the actual bases getting destroyed. And that leads me to my next slide. What is U.S. Pearl Harbor today? So today Pearl Harbor is the home of the sunken ship, the USS Arizona, which was another major ship that had been hit that day. And it is a memorial for the USS Arizona, the battleship Missouri, and a National Aviation Museum. Today you can go tour it and get a full history lesson on exactly what had happened. Whenever I was researching this, I found out way more than I knew before, and I sure hope you have learned the same amount as I have, if not maybe more. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.